technically, do it. Technically, a cold open is when you start something without an intro. So it would be like on shows where it comes into the action right away. Um, that would be a cold open, like no intro. It just comes right into the setting.
That seems really awkward to me.
So
I don't know.
Like just us talking now, and then like for whatever reason, then we just like transition over to like the live screen.
Yeah, so like a lot of shows use cold opens as a thing, but I don't think it works for a podcast because it does. I don't think a cold open would translate.
Yeah.
Oh, hi guys!
Oh, hi everyone! Welcome to Critical Reroll, the podcast for the critters, by the critters. I am Dustin. We have a lot to talk about today.
No.
Actually, my real name is Zachariah Graff, and I used to be a dwarf.
I mean, clearly I used to be a fawn. I was polyfrond.
And you know me as Matt, but my real name is Sarsaparilla Clementine. And I was involved in a time travel incident, and I switched with Matt. But we'll keep the things that you guys know. Oh no.
Boy, guys, episode 49.
Hashtag that happened.
Of Critical Role. Was a lot of unpacking. That a lot of people opened up their closets, brought out that little case you keep all hidden away, and just tossed it out on the bed and go, look at my stuff.
We're like, here, this is my baggage. Now it's yours.
Oh, we're sharing now? I'm so happy to share. Let me share with you.
What was it? And everyone was leading up like these dumb idiots just need to like talk to each other, and then all it took was not talking, and then like, and I still love the faces of when Caleb started talking and like Travis, like, and Laura just like, but yeah. So we got a lot to talk about, and we want to try and get it all done. And there's definitely 3 beats that we want to hit on. We want to hit on Nott, we want to hit on Caleb, and we want to hit on what the hell is going on with and then there's some stuff in between. And we got 12 questions today on the Google form. As you guys who are watching us or listening to us in the podcast, every week we post out a link to the Google form where you can ask questions, be as spoilery as you want to without spoilering your friends. Spoilering your friends on Twitter?
Totally spoilering them.
Spoiling, I think, is the technical word, but I make up my own language here. So yes, you can fill that out. We usually link it at on our Twitter, which is at Critical Reroll. So I think first we're going to talk about they
level up. Before that, for some reason, and I'm going to cut this out of the audio part. I don't know why the video and audio are off sync. I don't have any like things set up that do that. Unfortunately, I don't know how to fix it live, so I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. Maybe I can fix it before we like post it on like YouTube or whatever. Anyway, they leveled up. Mid episode, Matt says that when they take the rest, they're officially level 8. And so, real quick before we get into like the good of this episode, we're gonna hit all of these quick things. So I went through, and at this point, they're level 8. All they really get are ability score improvement or a feat. Some of them get like another spell slot or like another key point. But I wanted to go through real quick and kind of like these are the things that I thought they might go with. I don't know if you guys had a chance to actually like look at all the feats or anything. But we're gonna start with Fjord. So he gets an ability score improvement, obviously. But as far as feats go, I was thinking maybe Orcish Fury, which is one of the new ones. So if you don't have Xanathar's Guide to Everything, they added feats that are specific to races, which I thought was very, very cool.
There are so many feats now.
There's so many. And now you can go and look and search for them by stat you want to raise, race that you are doing, because you can be like, oh, I want to do something charisma-ish, and you can like sort of search that now. I think that's really interesting.
But with Orcish Fury, it would allow him to either raise a strength or constitution score 1. And when he hits with a simpler martial weapon, he can deal an additional damage die, which I think that would be fun since he's actually like starting to use the falchion. Additionally, when he uses his relentless endurance, so when he goes down to 1, comes back, or goes to 0, comes back at 1, he can like immediately attack right after that. So that's like, I don't know. I think that would be fun for Ford to do.
Mm-hmm.
Other things was Mage Slayer, because they've been having issues with like things casting spells at them, so he could bamf over there, deal with that, get out. But him being a captain, I also thought Martial Adept, so he can do maneuvers, and there's some like goading attack where he can make it to where if he tries to attack someone else, he gets like an advantage attack against them, or he can like command somebody and they can use their reaction to attack. Things that like, a captain could do. So that was Ford. Bo likes to grapple, so I figured she'd probably take Grappler. Or Observant, because she's like a spy for the Cobalt Soul. She gets an additional key point, so that's cool. Now Caleb, he's always a tough one because you never know what Liam's gonna do. I think after hearing Taliesin talk about Spell Sniper, because that's what Taliesin had mentioned, but it doesn't work with healing things, I think Caleb's gonna take that. Or Linguist, so he can get more languages, and it also has a little thing that fits perfectly with the story where he can now create his own cipher. So I think that's like peak Caleb. Let's see. Nott could do Squat Nimbleness, which is only available to small races, which she is. And
That's a fun one.
yeah, you can raise your strength or dex by 1. Increase your walking speed, so she'd finally be at 30 with everybody else. And you get proficiency in either athletics or acrobatics. And you have advantage on trying to escape being grappled. So that is fun. Jester Observant, because she's mischievous and can see people talking from far away. Tavern Brawler, because that's like a thing she does. And you're going to mention...
Yeah, she's actually fought in a bunch of... No, I was just going to say, she's actually fought in a bunch of taverns, but also just... Laura loved Observant as Vex because of how often she was able to read lips. She was always like, and I know that because I can read lips. And I could just see Jester having a lot of fun with that and like getting the correct information by reading lips, but telling everyone false stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, they're actually saying like, bippity boppity boo,
Yeah.
meow meow, kitty cats. I love them. They sneak around in their pitty patty feet.
She would be one of those people that like would sit with a group and play that game of like watching a different couple and like saying what they're saying and making it up like, oh, you have really nice feet and that's a thing. I don't know. I went to feet. I've been thinking about Kingdom Hearts and they have really weird big feet.
They do have really feet, and I did just mention adorable kitten feet, so
Okay.
you're fine.
Yeah. Caduceus.
And we're talking about literal feet,
So that wasn't a weird thing I said.
Bringing it back around.
Other thing, because of her Jester's fight with the dragon, and she like used her shield, and the Traveler kind of helped her with the shield all thematically. I thought Shield Master would be fun, so she can actually like, use it in combat and like push people away or have a better chance at avoiding dexterity saving throw things. Caduceus, also Observant, because that's just Caduceus. He's very observant. Tough, because he has fallen in battle a couple times, and it's not something that Taliesin really enjoys after losing a character. But also Warcaster, because he's kind of playing the main support role and doing Bless and Bane and things that like require concentration checks, and this gives you a little bit more sturdiness keeping that up. And last is Yasha, who knows what Ashley will do. It'll probably be picked for her. But Tough, because she's the tank. Savage Attacker, because she's the attacker. Or Mage Slayer, because she's already got the sword that goes with it.
You know, it would also, I thought, like, I mean, Matt's not afraid to use UA stuff, but I know that Caduceus, a UA feat is the Gourmand feat, where you prepare a meal, and then they get a advantage on Constitution saves against disease and poison, I think, because that would be a really fun one.
Said Constitution shaves, and I was like, that would be Yasha's feat. She was the one doing all the shaves, so I think
true.
she
I
would.
mean, shaving is always a Constitution check, especially when I'm doing the neck part. I'm just like, don't slip.
Oh, that
I
terrifies me.
just don't do it, and I have a mess on my face. So everybody else kind of just doesn't really get anything special. Like they get an additional 4th level spell slot, but the 3 main ones, Caduceus now can add his Wisdom modifier to his Cleric cantrip damage, which is neat. Jester gets her special Divine Strike, and just if she lands with an attack, she can add poison damage to it, which is very neat. And now Nott, this is the one that I really like. So Nott is a arcane trickster, and the thing with arcane tricksters is you can only take spells that are enchantment or illusion, except for certain levels, and 8 is one of those. So I don't know what the heck Sam is gonna take. He only gets level 1 or level 2 spells. I didn't even write one down because I don't know what the hell Sam is thinking at any point in any game, especially given like the backstory drop. Find Familiar could be fun.
And then they could always do. They could always take their ability score increases
That's true.
instead of all the stuff we just.
Yeah,
possibly
it's
talked about.
instead of all the like, 'cause it's just feats are so much fun. Like,
They are.
feats just
So
have
much
so
fun.
much like personality, and like a few people in chat, Gormier, Rising Star Chris, and John Allison were all talking about, oh well, like what feats could possibly help raise spell DC, and like, but also pointing out that like Matt specifically was annoyed with all the magic items he gave them last campaign that did that, and he'd probably like wouldn't be keen on more items like that, and I don't think there are any feats that do it, so like I think they're set working with like to raise their spell DC, it would be raising the stats, like you said, rather than like a feat or anything, I think.
And to answer Sundew, yes, Nott does already have crossbow expertise. I feel like when they hit level 4, Matt let them take ability score and a feat, which might have been, I don't know, ill-advised. But it hasn't broken the game this far, so why not? I don't think he's gonna be able. I don't think he's gonna let him do it this time. But yeah, so like, I'm excited to see what spell he takes because it's gonna be bizarre and it's gonna be something that we never would expect, and probably a spell that never gets used. Bring me Tensor's Floating Dibs.
Well, he may use it. Oh, you
The
love that
best spell?
so much.
Fight me.
Yeah, you haven't used it in the games that we've played, have you?
I try to use it all the time.
Yeah,
I offer it like, hey, I
Okay.
can run fast if somebody wants to get on this super skateboard.
Oh no, we did. Yeah, we did use it. We did use it once to like drag something.
I was gonna say, I think usually it often ends up getting used to like float big heavy treasures back to places and stuff like that. Like, I don't know.
So now that we got leveling out of the way, let's talk about Nott.
Oh.
We
Oh,
basically had
God.
ended the previous episode with not going to talk to her child. And we start this episode basically with Laura as Jester being like, so, about what just happened in there. Is that your son?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the quote was literally like, so what the fuck?
And I just like how Sam as not was just like, oh, okay, we're gonna go straight to that. Okay, that's fine. I mean, we get a little bit of a scare with the two Cerberus assembly members being outside, and Caleb's like, and they run off, and they head up over to a river, and this is where we get this huge story from Nott, that Nott was not Nott at once. She was Veth, and she had a family, and she was a teased little child. She was always not. They saw her as not pretty, not smart, not.
Yeah, like if only it wasn't if it wasn't sad enough that she was, you know, a halfling turned goblin, but like she was a bullied little girl that like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam like reinvested, like I was reinvested in the story again with that.
Yeah, and I think I have in my notes, and I think it was the thing. It was something that Sam said about we all have secrets, we all have armor and chains keeping us down. Let's be open and honest, and that was like a thing that we've been wanting these dum-dums to do for a while, because they all have all these little secrets, and it's all eating each other inside. And now Nott just opens up and drops this huge thing, and like we learn that she was bullied, and then through the bullying, actually kind of fell in love with someone, married them, had a kid. We learned that it was sometime later that the town was having a hardship. One hard winter, the goblins got a little more aggressive, came over, took her whole family as hostages, and then her as being this mother who's like, something, my son's gonna die here, I'm not gonna let that happen, managed to escape. And they get back across the river, but they split up. She's behind. She defends herself against the goblins, ends up killing an important one. And then she gets taken and basically drowned because I think it was Jester who, or was it Jester the one that asked like, "Did you actually die?" Or Travis? I can't remember. I might think of Travis was the one who was like when that question was asked, he was like all up in like what is this? And so she described being.
Yeah, she said they drowned her in the river. She says she remembers that feeling, and it's so freaking bonkers because they just made her spend the last like 2 or 3 months going underwater and
like making jokes like there's Mr. Buttons down there and the Boom Baloombas, and like it was funny then, but now it's like you shitbag Ford.
I know, you think about
horrific.
It's horrible.
But I also loved how Sam like described the whole chain things and how he described the kind of the two ways that people deal with stuff in their past. They either like what Nott did was build armor to like be able to like defend against it and not have to think about it, and like things can hit her but she's not gonna be fazed by it. Or you make a chain and like you're weighed down by past things. So I don't know. I just thought that was real cool how he described both of those.
Well, yeah, and like I mean, you look at Nott is the armor, and Caleb is the chain. Caleb lets his past stuff pull him down. Like it was just so like, you know, it's Sam is. I mean, we learned this in the first campaign. Like he's all happy and bubbly on the surface and like silly and goofy and dumb, but there's a deep river underneath, which I did on purpose because later events in this episode. That's just full. Like this is such, and I wasn't on this theory. Like, so this is a theory, and I know this theory has been kind of going around, and we've talked about Nott and why she's with Caleb, that she wants to be something else. And I was seriously just always in the school of Nott was a goblin and something happened and she didn't want to be a goblin anymore. And, you know, she had told this story in a different way. And we were kind of talking this before we went live, is that the story that she told previously was that she worked with a torturer. And we did learn that the goblins, after they transformed her, basically kept her as a slave and did these things. And she did work with a torturer. But in that story, she talked about how it was Yeza who she was torturing. And I'm just going to say this as a D&D thing. She gave her this whole story. Not a single one of them insight checked her. And I believe that this story is probably the truth. But remember when they used to just insight check each other like crazy? And then they sort of like...
Because they did earlier in the game, very earlier in the campaign, they were talking about like, oh, where are we going? What are you doing? Do you want to go back to your area? Nah. Is there someone chasing you, Nott? And she was like, no, there's totally not someone chasing me. And they insight checked that, and she had to admit, she was like, oh yeah, there's I'm on the run from something. Like that's a known. So they did previously like insight, but you're right, this time they were like,
and Rising Star Chris brings it in, and King Sunder too. Like there's this big connection in this because later after this. So I just wanted to quickly, but there's this huge connection between Nott's story and Caleb's backstory, and this sort of was the impetus for what comes next. But so theory-wise, you guys, we find out that Nott was a halfling turned into a goblin, where I was so convinced that it was just goblin wanted to be better. And even in the last episode before there, I thought she knew the halfling who maybe the goblins killed because she was like part of the tribe and she felt bad that that family was broken and she wanted to fix it and become that person.
100%.
Yeah, I did not see this.
I have to say, I'm really, really disappointed with myself for going with the simplistic theory on this one and being like, no, Nott's a goblin who just wishes she was a halfling. And then when we saw her interact with Luke, I was like you said, she just feels guilty and maybe she wants to see if she can help replace what she's done in some way. No, it was the crazier stuff. And now I'm very upset and I need to ramp up all my theories. So now I think Caleb is for sure a red dragon and that's why he's obsessed with fire. And, I'm sure that Ford's actually a mermaid or something. I don't know. I'm not happy with the fact that
Yuan-Ti. I mean, I feel this exact same way because I am usually one of those that clings onto those really crazy ones.
Yeah.
And like this one, I said the same to myself. I was like, I went with the boring theory.
Yeah.
Well, and
Why
like-
did I
same.
go with the crazy?
And looking more at it, Axlobo in the chat says like now it makes sense why Nott knew about these hooded figures and like knew about people that were in the service assembly, because it's like that didn't make any sense for a goblin to know that, but now it makes fucking sense that the wife of an alchemist knows it.
So really quickly on our form, there were a couple questions that pertained to Nott. And I have those in my notes. And one of those was the Veth reincarnation reveal. Just wow. The old woman in the robes. Any theories? Goblin shaman or something other? Because that was really interesting too. Like the goblins like cast a spell to, and it's. I mean, I think if you read Resurrection, it's definitely like or reincarnate.
Mhm.
You cast a spell on something that hasn't been dead for more than 10 hours, I think, or minutes. I can't remember.
Well, I think this is a
Um,
valuable question. A lot of people were arguing this one that like what was that? Like because a lot of people were like, "Oh, is this oh, someone said a higher level spell, but everyone argued it's more likely reincarnate like you said. And I think a lot of people I for one always thought reincarnate originally I thought it was random. Like you rolled for it,
yeah,
but I
I
think
thought
it
that.
does
Yeah, in the very end of it, it says the
it
or the DM
specifies
can
that the
choose.
DM can choose and like it would make sense that for flavor he would allow that. And it would also make sense because if we're going with shaman, we could go with like a druidic type flair, and druids no reincarnate at like a pretty medium level. So I feel like that could make sense. But I also like the idea of it being something different. I also like the idea of it possibly being like a curse or something
Mhm.
like that, you know, that she did some sort of like curse ritual on Nott. Yeah, sorry, what about you guys?
Uh, yeah, I thought like maybe it's because like for some reason in my head I thought reincarnate was a higher level spell, but it's only a 5th level, which is a decent. I mean, there could be that level of an NPC goblin that can
Yeah,
cast
that was
spell.
one of the things that like waned me away from it possibly being true polymorph, because that is such a high level spell.
Yeah, because that's the 9th
and
level.
like
Yeah.
we know now.
Yeah.
We know
Well, and,
Allura,
like, for reincarnate,
not even Allura is like that high of a level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
Yeah,
we know
that's what I
that.
mean. I think some people were like shouting like, "Oh, it's for sure true polymorph to make her into this permanent form." But I think it makes more sense, and also like it ties to that question that who asked that question,
We
Dustin?
didn't get a name.
No one put a name.
Okay, sorry. So the shaman, I think it makes sense for them to be like druid. I think it makes sense for them to be like a druidic type shaman because then
Yeah.
it fits into sort of the flavor of what they were
And
doing.
then we have John Allenson in the chat saying, "My guess is Matt would allow that goblin shaman to reincarnate at a lower level, but only into goblins," which makes sense.
Ooh, I like that.
That makes
Yeah.
it like a ritual.
Well, like so, yeah, and
Yeah.
reincarnate definitely fits because they did drown her first, and that's something that you have to cast it
Something
on
dead.
The dead.
someone who's
Yep.
dead.
Yep.
They made the left.
They knew.
So, yeah, and then just a couple other questions that sort of tied in also with Nott alone is like, does that mean that Veth's wedding band is still at the bottom of the river? Because later she did mention that she doesn't have her
she doesn't
ring
have it
anymore. And also I think there was one other one, and this had to do with something about related to Molly. Is there a connection between Nott's resurrection and Molly
That was
Mott?
also in the chat just now, which I mean, I don't know anymore. Like it's hard to speculate anything with this game.
I mean, it's fun to do, but then like we're always wrong, or we're just a little bit wrong, or
But
like
it's okay. Just throw it out there. See what sticks
See
to the
what
wall.
sticks.
It's fine.
But,
It's
like-
just better to get the crazy ones out there than
All my
like.
theories are
yeah,
like
you know, from
so-
now on,
needles.
that's my theory is just to be crazy.
Yep.
And if it's good, it's good. If it's not, then I'm still crazy. So I'm happy.
But just like how.
Sea Monster chat said the goblins took the shiny ring.
But the freaking anagram though, not the brave. Veth Burn.
Mm.
What is it? Bernot. I forgot already.
Yeah,
Tell
I
her
already
last
forgot
name.
to. Yeah.
Just.
But
the
just like
forethought that Sam put into it makes me so happy.
Sam puts a lot of stuff into it, which always makes me wonder really about the whole story that it was Liam that just picked his class and character and race and all that stuff. I'm like,
Because too much of
You
this worked
too.
out too well.
you too. You're just
Yeah.
always smoke screen.
Vesh Bernardo. I see what you're doing, Kate. I see where your mind's at.
Okay. So we get this huge big drop, and then while the party's still reeling from all of this truth, we get Liam, who just is like, my name used to be. And then I just love watching everyone react.
Just
like, wait, what? Laura almost fell backwards out of her chair. She threw her hands up. Where he says his name is Bren Aldrich Ermendrut. And we all know that Bren or Brent or to Brent is the German verb and word for fire, or burning, which, god damn. And I like that Nott was like, is this why you were away that one time? Because like, didn't she like turn in and say her name was Bren or something
Yeah, I
like
went
that?
back and watched that. It was
And
when
he had it-
Mark Hume's guest, and like Sam's like, my name's Bryn, and Liam just does this 1,000-yard stare straight at Sam for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's...
So we learn that that was Caleb's name and that he did work with the Cerberus Assembly, and it was Trent Ickathon who kind of picked out some more special people who seemed more adept at learning some things. And we know previously when he talked about Trent to Bo, when he told like his whole history just to a couple people, that Trent had kind of taken his proteges off to some separate place to kind of train them. And then we get this reveal in this episode as Liam unwraps that he's got all these cuts, that Trent was experimenting with some crystals and different kinds of things
Trent is Xehanort.
on him. Okay, well, if we're gonna go into Kingdom Hearts craziness,
No, don't start.
we're
Put
gonna
it
go
down.
in. We're gonna
Put
go
it down
into. We're
now.
gonna go into one of the questions in our forum,
Okay.
which delves into, if you guys would like to follow this, it's at OTDDERAMIN, Daramin, on Twitter, and she has this. I think I can post this. Can I copy this and post it?
Already did, my dude.
This is a really interesting thread. Okay, awesome. So this question sort of talks about like, what do you think about the Cerberus Assembly? And I just got to find the question because I don't want to say it wrong. Sorry guys. What do you think of this thread? And there was no name to this one either. But this whole thread kind of basically talks about Ripley from the previous campaign. We know she was from Wildmount. We know she was working kind of with the Empire, and the Empire kind of kicked her out for messing with some stuff. We know that King Bertram or whatever his name is, was on her gun.
Yep.
And we know that Trent Ickathon likes to mess with things too, but we know Kickley was ripped out. Ripley was kicked out of the Empire for messing with some stuff, and we know that Trent has kind of been doing some stuff off the side. And like, ever since we started learning more about this Cerberus Assembly, I am, one, really into it, but two, also like really horrified by it, because Caleb kind of talks about Trent Ickathon's view of people who aren't smart as just being cattle.
Yes.
That part was so
And he wants control over
delicious.
the
That
Because-
is fucking scary shit.
Well, but also like just his description of like that they are filth, that they are dirty, and then
Yeah.
think of any moment that Caleb has wanted to separate himself from sort of the academy or like the assembly or anything like that. He dirties himself. Like it's such a like it's so relevant to what we've seen of Caleb and how he feels, and just like anytime he seems to have that like, oh, like maybe he's getting too close to that or something, he has to just
Yeah, he's like, oops,
Yeah,
become the
oops, I
filth,
experienced
like,
happiness. Dirty, 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 dirty.
yeah.
yeah.
Like, he's messed up, and Trent Ickathon probably made him that. I mean, we know he snaps, and so you can't imagine like all of the stuff. Oh, and someone else on Twitter, I want to mention this too. It was at S'more Yellow. this is just so good. Me, someone. Remember when Caleb passed out for like 5 real life minutes and everyone laughed because Liam was goofing, but then he woke up screaming, "Take them out," and you realize he was talking about the crystals in his arms? And then it's just a sad Pikachu. And it's just like blah 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 blah.
Well, and then
like this Cerberus
add that
assembly
to Anna Ripley messing with biological weaponry, like that is that. I think she did that.
Yeah, and this is a really good, really good, and
I mean, I think it came up. I think a lot of people were like, the crystals he's talking about is that like the crystals they were seeing in the cave? But King Sundu in chat said if we're connecting this all to Ripley, then could the glass be the Whitestone glass?
Because she already
I
knew
feel
that
like
it had magical properties. In that we know why she knew that.
Well, I wonder, like, it's probably like, I mean, with a man like Trent, it's probably a bunch of different things.
Let me take any and all crystals I can find and
it's
shove
just like,
them
if
into...
I just want to imbue you with power, it's just like, And it could be possible that he was talking about take them out of the fire as his family, but like with Liam, you never know. There's so many different layers to that.
He's an ogre.
Yep.
Also an onion.
But like Trent, the Cerberus Assembly, and because we learn a little bit about the Cerberus Assembly through those notes that they are using Yrsa.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like there's the Yrsa and then there's the Yusa from the tower, and I'm like, oh, here we go again with names that are too close to each other, and I get confused. But we know that they kind of like find people who are talented in something and then sort of like adopt them to do the work for them, because we know that they kind of got Yrsa to be working on this beacon and the Dunamis and this weird power over time and entropy and stuff. Like I think that, and I just, with the way he described Trent, my crazy theories brain starts going crazy. Like the Dwendalian Empire, like maybe even the Cerberus Assembly thinks that they are better than the Empire and they can do all this stuff behind the scenes. And we know that Xhorhas was the hotbed of the hotbed of, what's the word I'm looking for? The deceivers and like bad gods, the betrayer gods. But like how, like I love that the whole group sort of started thinking of who are the real bad guys.
That was the fun turning point when they came back from break, and Marisha's like, what if the Kryn aren't bad?
Yeah, because we're talking like, and even Nott starts talking about like, maybe I was thinking maybe we need to like align with them. And they're like, align with the person who just stole your husband? Like, we don't know like exactly what's happening there. Like, and I like that they were all discussing that and seeing that, and like you said, like they came back from the break, and I think it was like you said, it was Bo first, and then like Nott agreeing, and I think someone else was surprised by that and questioned it. But it's true, and it's interesting. We don't know, and like when you're saying with the Cerberus Assembly, like they see themselves higher than most others, and Caleb even talked about a time when the mages all met in the street and had it out in the street.
They talked about the origin of the Cerberus Assembly, and one of the people that the guy that bamped in now was one of those people that founded it, and that was 200 years ago.
It's like the original, yeah.
So he already had to be an old elf, or like a learned elf to like be that kind of mage, and then fight this battle, and then go to the king at the time and be like, "Hey, we're going to be your advisors now." And it doesn't sound like the king.
And that was like the word advisors, and like knowing, and I'm like
your puppet.
Oh man, they're working.
We're the puppet master.
Yeah, they're working some stuff behind the scenes because they got the power to do it.
Yeah.
And we know that they sort of take people on as proteges. I mean, Pumat Sol is certified by the Cerberus Assembly. He made simulacrums were made
for him.
They totally have listening devices implanted in them.
It's basically like the Wild Mountain Illuminati now. Like we just, the
above ground lizard people that aren't afraid.
Yeah. And then they made a comment about how, like, they're like, wait, if the Kryn have the ability to, like, dig down and, like, pop up and, like, attack so massively as they did, why haven't they done this on the city? But we saw, I mean, we got to witness firsthand one of their attempts to take like one small thing from the tower, and you know, with their with what was probably their like top crack team, and that didn't go super well. And now our crew has that weird thing that the Kryn went in to get. It's still funny to think about that.
Well, and
But
we
they're
know
like,
that-
oh, we have no idea what this thing is that you like
Yeah.
risked your lives to get, but we want
we
it
have
now.
a reality breaking
And it-
D12 or D12 in our pocket. And we're a bunch of bumblefucks.
And it sort of brings us to where I wanted to spend the last bit of the podcast in talking
The chair.
about Gordranus Jorhas. No.
But what is up with the chair?
And I would like to talk about, we know that Yrsa has, through a wonderful exchange, we find out that with Jester and Molly, not Molly, oh, I can't believe I just did that. Jester and Caduceus, using divination and sending, we find out that Yrsa is alive, and it's actually the Kryn who have taken him. And so that was we know that they're alive, and I loved every single time Nott was talking about him in the past tense. The whole group kept saying no, present tense.
Yeah.
And it was so we know that he's being taken over there, and this sort of leads the whole group in an impetus to be like, well, are we gonna go we're gonna go save him, obviously we're gonna go save him, but that means like we're going to Jorhas. And Matt sort of points out like the war is right here. We know Blade Garden and the two like posts, I can't remember the word for the garrisons. We know one was kind of taken over and is being run by the Jorhasians right now. So they decide that they're gonna go check out these tunnels. They meet the guards. I should also say that really quick that they do get they do get Luke and Edith out. They hire some guards to take them out of town so that they're safe.
Also, that part
but
was
like I felt
that part was like such a dramatic irony that they are now the quest givers, and now this Jordan and Jay people are probably going to go on a quest and like become super important members later on. Continue.
Yeah, Jordan and Jay, they were recommended by their friend Jeff.
Jeff, what a great fantasy name. I liked it. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it.
And it was a totally,
not everyone's...
they got 40 gold each for doing it, and they get killed if they don't.
It's a lot of gold.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's such a good deal from Bo. Bo is such a good haggler.
Yeah, she's just a great people person.
For 35 gold each, and you could tell they were trying to rip her off, and she was like, we'll give you 40 gold each, or I'll kill you if you don't. Like...
She's just such a good people person.
So Bo. So, and the way she smacks, like, please don't hurt me again, and she smacks him, she's like, that's how I show affection! And then, like, flips the bird and walks away. She is a well-adjusted adult.
Oh, yeah, totally, 100%. They're all so well-adjusted. So they go to, and so I had fallen asleep before the break, right when they got to this hill, and I'd asked someone, like, what did I miss? Like, you didn't miss anything. I missed the whole mention where they talked about these giant 12-foot mouth things that like came out of the ground. And I'm like, that's a big thing to miss. And I'm like, what is that? They did what? This is how they got their tunnels. And they sort of spent some time the tunnels. And so I just want to spend the time to like just talk about they're going to go to Jorhas. And they end up excavating this tunnel through the use of what did she do? Dire Badger?
No, Dire
Honey Badger.
Honey Badger.
Honey Badger.
Yeah.
But I like that Matt was like, you can make giant. Like, I liked how he turned that polymorph into like, you've seen dire things, you've seen other animals.
Of her freaking imagination, she made herself.
Which fits with her and the Traveler and Doodles and like making things. I thought that was like super, super cool for the DM, kind of give that leniency. Like, yeah, make an animal. Some parts, just put them together. It's like Legos. Like Lego. Sorry, it's not Legos.
Secret tunnel. Yeah, that whole scene was fun because like they had to like deceive their way past guards, which was pretty easy if you tell them you're doing something boring. They make it.
I do like this whole episode that Bo was just like, "Hi, I'm dressed. My authority is this." She used the Cobalt Soul Authority like really heavy in
Yeah.
her interactions with
Yeah.
getting places.
Yeah, you said you're from the Cobalt Soul? Yup. Bye!
Yeah.
Like, she was just flashing
Can't you tell on my
that
jacket and many pockets?
badge. Yeah. Can't you tell by the exact shade of my coat? How do you think I got so blue?
Do you know what color this is? This is cobalt. Yeah, it's great.
For sure. And
So
go ahead.
oh, well, I was just gonna say there's a whole bunch of questions that were sort of related around Jorhas
Bring 'em.
and them
Okay.
possibly going through.
Do it.
So
Let's do
one
it.
of them was, and we know that they dig through with the honey badger, and they find an underground river, which apparently all Wildmount is just underground rivers. Who needs above ground rivers? The new thing, the new hipster thing to be, it's an underground river, man. So Underdark Adventures?
Yeah. And it's gonna be interesting because
I mean-
like when we had, I forgot the name of the other place, the Mind Flayer land from first campaign with Kavarn. I forgot the
Oh,
name
yeah,
of it, but like Kavarn came through.
I used to know it. That was like my favorite place.
Kavarn came through like a rift that was like a weakened area between planes because he's an aberration. He came from like somewhere else. Are there gonna be more of the things in like this continent?
If you read the art book, you know that they all packed up and shipped out.
I didn't.
Yogg Varil.
Thank you.
Yogg
Yes,
Varil.
Nice.
Thanks, Set Slayer.
Yeah, I mean, like there were. It's funny that they hit possible Underdark land now because when we started watching the campaign, they were like at level 8, level 9 going into the Underdark, and now they're at level 8, level 9 going into the Underdark.
That's true.
I mean, but will it actually be the Underdark? Like, is it just like this underground river and it'll just have like cave monsters in it?
Do you think they're gonna take this? Because they said they're like, this is a long, and like they were like, oh, we're right on their tail, and Matt had to be like, hang on, as a little aside, guys, it's been 2 to 3 weeks. You're not right on their tail.
I think that was a timeline that kind of had gotten confused with the fandom too, like because he had mentioned, I think, in something like if they hadn't gone to Nicodranas, and some people, me included, for a period of time, had thought, oh, if they hadn't come when they were on their way back from the sea adventures. But he meant like when they left Zadash. And so yeah, like there was that weird, and then he kind of explained that more, and then I'm like, oh yeah, right, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, like this has been a few weeks that this has happened, so they're not like, it's not a hot on the trail of pursuit sort of thing.
Yeah,
This is
so do you
more
think they're gonna take this tunnel? It's gonna literally take them all the way back.
Oh, hold on, guys. I don't know what happened.
Are you back?
The thing that we didn't want to happen happened.
Hi guys, sorry, 1 second. Can you hear us? Sorry, hang on, we're on our way.
Boop. Nobody saw that.
Nothing happened. It's totally fine.
That's like a really good question too. Like, are they actually going to go all that way through there? I mean,
yeah, is it going to take them like all the way? Are they going to continue all the way, and pop them up in Jorhas, or is there going to be something before that? Like, is it going to turn out they had like a different like this was just a temporary?
The other question is, do the Kryn have like small bases in these underground rivers in multiple areas?
What I was gonna say before I completely like destroyed Discord. Like they're underground and there's water, so like there is gonna be living things. I don't see why there wouldn't be like Underdark fun stuff happening. I don't think it's gonna be
but, like whether they'll choose to go that way or they'll go above ground and figure stuff out is the other thing. Like I don't know if they'll.
Well, and that's.
Is like what's more safe, like above ground where you can stop at cities along the way and then maybe find a way down in there, or just
and it goes back to what I was
running and gunning at
you earlier, was like I'm still confused on who has taken Yeza, because like he was in his apothecary, right, in this whole thing with the Jorhashi and they attacked, but like the notes were written by somebody from the Cerberus Academy. But then, and they're like, we're going to take him to Cordranus, and like, or something about Cordranus being like where they're doing all their stuff, but like that's where the Kryn are. So it's like, are the Cerberus Academy working with the Kryn, or like did the Kryn take Yiza, or did the Cerberus Academy take Yiza, like or Yeza? I don't know what's happening because all we know because Jester was able to message him. We know that he's alive.
Yeah, I was gonna say
we know that he's alive. We know he's somewhere dark and he can't talk a lot.
Yep. That's all he said.
Which would play in with he's
Indeed.
traveling underground.
Yeah.
With the Kryn, and so there's also a question on the sheet. Again, no name, but Yesa is able to distill the brand new form of magic into a vial with his alchemy. Clearly, a prodigy worth the Cerberus Assembly investing in. Do you think he was working with them voluntarily? Also, are the Kryn already able to distill dunamancy, or is that what they abducted him for? And so here's my I think that the Cerberus Assembly has been trying to figure out what these beacons are and this dunamancy and trying to understand it because I think that it is the core magics of Kryn. Mm-hmm. And I think that this beacon and their work with it brought the attention of the Kryn to Felderwind. And I think that when they saw what Yursa, I'm gonna mess this up every time, had been doing, maybe it was something that they don't want him in, but maybe it's something a little more like, oh, I didn't know we could do it that way, and like you're coming with us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's weird that they wouldn't just like kill him outright because it seems like that's all the Kryn wanted to.
I don't think so. I think because we know, like you said, the dunamus is the D12 the dunamis. Anyways,
you can tap the dunamis through that. I think is what it.
The dodecahedron.
Yes.
I'm gonna say the dodecahedron. We know that is something special to the Kryn. We know that was, like you said, one of their special magics, and that the Cerberus Assembly stole it. And when we witnessed the Kryn for the first time, it was them trying to take it back. And we know that magic is important to them. It confused us all at first because at first they talked about how it allowed them to make babies, and like Jester has focused on that for a very long time. It's important to them and their babies. But I think that the Cerberus Assembly wanted that, and they wanted not only that, but in those burnt letters, it specifically described how they were trying to sort of weaponize it, and how they were like, how if we can get Yesa was able to distill vials of it, and upon drinking it, people would gain almost those benefits. And so they were like, think about if we could have an army of people like beefed up with so like very fantasy drugs, fantasy steroids, if you will. Yeah. Or fantasy Captain America juice serum. It seems like that's what they want to use it for. And I think the Kryn not having access to the dodecahedron, because I think it's currently with the Mighty Nine, no one really knows where it is. I think they're reaching out for any piece of it they can get. And upon go ahead.
Well, I think that they had a beacon as well, and they were experimenting on it, and then making all that weird magic happen around town. And I think the Kryn took that and Yursa, possibly, but like they also have. I mean, the Mighty Nine is sitting on a beacon. Oh.
You think they had another beacon?
I think they had a beacon themselves also, because I think that's what the note was kind of talking about, the beacon.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Okay.
And that they were throwing magics at it, because I think not in the thing.
How many beacons are there then?
I think that there's
Matt, you're muted.
Matt, you're muted.
I'm muted for you guys. They heard me.
Matt, you're muted.
Oh, okay.
They had to have multiple beacons, and I don't know how many. I don't think there was like an obscene amount. I feel like each.
No, I think they had they had acquired
maybe like one per not head household, like per royal family maybe had one, because that's how they keep the line going.
Oh, maybe.
Okay. So there's a lot of them.
Well, and they're working on distilling it so that they can remove the beacon from the process entirely.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is?
Yeah, that's definitely what it sort of talked about in that like half burnt out notes, and there were pieces missing of it, but definitely a big what Yesa seemed to be focused on was distilling it into vials, because they wanted to weaponize it, I think. And like you said, Dustin, I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought like, why didn't they just take him out and like remove that possibility? But I mean, if it's valuable to everyone.
Well, yeah, if they don't need to be reliable on if they don't need to rely on the beacons to harness Dunamis, then because there was that tripod, so they obviously probably had a beacon. But I think that maybe they're like, hey, wait, what is this stuff? And maybe I don't know. It's just so like we don't really understand, and maybe the chair does tie into it in the fact that someone just used it to put stuff in a safe. All the chairs.
Yeah.
But and we know that this stuff is sort of like when Caleb had gone into it before. It's like threads of possibilities or something like that, and maybe that ties in with the whole baby thing that they can alter the fate of someone and bring them back into a different. I don't know. It gets crazy, but I saw some of that on Twitter and Reddit as well.
I could see them having a different use for it. Do you know what I mean? I could see like it's the sort of thing where like this item is new to us, so we know about this thing it can do, but it being able to do more, you know, to the people inherent to it who know how to use it and stuff like that. So I could see them having.
We know, like from what they've like read and learned, is that the Kryn used it to keep their civilization going. Whereas now these elves are like weaponizing it immediately. Like, how can we use it to slow down full armies so we can attack them? And so they're like seeing this bastardization of like their thing. This is their thing.
Dangerous in and of itself.
Yeah, that's scary, and that must like really suck for them. Like on top of it being like, this sucks. They're using it against us. They stole it from us. But also, this is important to us, and how dare? Like, that's just rude.
Yeah, it'd just be interesting if they choose to go underground the entire way or stay above ground and keep like doing sendings to Yrsa to be like, can you tell us where we are now? Is it safe for that?
Well, there's an underground river, so that would suggest that there was already somewhat of a path, which they probably just engorged and, you know, followed. So do you think they're going to find more along this path? Do you think this path was pretty much mostly just used for transportation, or do you think they're gonna find some like, oh look, an underground village?
I'm kind of interested in them to go underneath, because like, what if there's like stuff underneath? I mean, if it's an underground river, we've kind of been in that one underground river that went from Zadash up to the swamp, and we know that the gentleman uses that for like smuggling. So like, is there little spots along the way? Are these other smuggling? Is there like little shanty towns?
And it makes more sense because.
Cool. Or are there Kryn outposts?
I was gonna say, like,
too,
that's where dark elves live, is like out of the sunlight, so it makes sense that they would be everywhere underground.
And are they just like utilizing this? Obviously, I'm going to toss out some geology terms, but this whole wild mount seems to be a karst sort of topography where it's limestoney, can be eaten out, and you can have these underground aquifers that actually turn into like actual rivers and things like that. Karst is really cool, guys. Look it up. But yeah, like they're
in chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, go ahead.
No, did you want to talk more about geology?
Nope, we're good. I'm gonna rein myself in.
Did you want to talk more about the limestone getting eaten out?
Okay. So I do like the fun conversation about how they're using it to like make designer babies.
That's what I was gonna say in chat. People are saying things like maybe they use the Dunamis, like maybe they use the dodecahedron to make either designer babies, or people are saying like maybe they up their chances of like making them babies because maybe there's some sort of issue from many generations of being sort of the same sort of group stuck underground. There's lots of possibilities
of them, like,
there,
looking into
but
the baby's
I feel
future, like, oh no, you don't cure this common cold, you do a bad
so
thing.
I'm not going to keep you? You think that's what they did? Well, I was, like I said, I think with the dodecahedron, there's things that they could do with it that we haven't seen yet, or we haven't acknowledged yet. I think they have more knowledge and more use of it, and I just think that when they first talked about it, they were talking about it almost like it was important to the rebirth of certain important people. So like, I wonder if it's sort of a thing where it like higher power people can like put memories into it or put parts of themselves into it to sort of be drawn out later.
Which is why it's even like even more shitty that they're weaponizing it, because like they could destroy these like precious memories that they have if they are stored in there.
And we don't know what sort of effects messing with that. because like maybe they use also in one of their ways is they use it the time aspect of it to prolong certain important people
And
as
like,
well. Like maybe
what
they
if the
have
Cerberus Academy like figures that out? That could also be a very
yeah,
bad thing.
or even just messing with time magic could be. And we kind of got that hint from like people that were messing it with time magic before the calamity that ended badly for people, and it might have. And I mean, you might be messing with magic fabrics, and I don't know. It could be all sorts of wonderful, crazy things, and now the whole 2019 is just always be insanely crazy about theories.
Yes, everything is possible.
It literally actually is. There was a couple other questions I wanted to touch on really quick. One person had mentioned if they're going northeast into Jorhas, do you think they might run into one of Caduceus's long lost family? Because we did get some mention that there were more of those forests. Jess, did you want to talk about this?
Yes, I have
Yeah,
a
go.
note. Sorry, it's just like I hope so for that. I don't know who asked that question. Thank you for asking that question.
No
I
name again.
hope so. I gosh darn hope so because we did get that whole discussion by Caduceus where he said like they were like, "What was happening with your forest again?" He's like, "It was being supplanted by an evil, corrupted version." And that he also specified that his wasn't the only site like that. There were other sites where that was happening. His family left to go investigate it, and some people, I think it was Bo, asked him like, "Aren't you curious? Don't you want to know why you can ask? You've asked the Allmother about like Ford's dude, and you've asked the Allmother about like Nott's Hubbo. Don't you want to ask about your fam jam?" And he was like, "I trust that the Allmother would tell me if there was something I needed to know," and I fucking love
Yeah.
Caduceus. But yes, I hope we get to see some of his family. I hope we get more of his backstory because we've gotten so little. Like we don't even know the specifics of how his forest is being corrupted. Um, you know what I mean? Like, and it's happening in other places. This is such a like big thing that might be happening, but it's so sidelined because like you're not gonna think like, oh, the forest is dying until it's right up in your face where you are gonna notice wars happening. Like, so this could be a big, huge, important thing that we haven't even gotten to look at yet because it's so sort of like hidden from our general eyes. Like,
So what you're saying is Jorhas in the war was just a red herring.
yep. That guys, the war doesn't matter at all. All that matters is the forests. We gotta go save the
literally.
forest. Stop everything you're doing. Go save the trees right now.
It could, because like
Okay,
now that we know
I'm
that
going.
there might be underground civilizations, they could be like pulling the life somehow from like the forests above, and like they should go to those places.
Geology!
Go to those
Yay!
Go to
Trees
those
and
places
geology,
where it's,
guys.
like,
That's all we care
centralized. If something's happening where the forest isn't living, go underground, see what's happening down there. That's where it's at. Or there's a giant phoenix above and it's taking the energy up. Who knows what? Who knows when that's happening?
You mean the
also
Luxon? The Luxon?
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, well, that whole all darkness all the time thing also isn't great for trees. Just saying, like not ideal.
Not ideal. Yeah, Jorhas. We just don't know so much about Jorhas and the Kryn Empire and this Dunamis thing, and it looks like we might, through the impetus of Yrsa being captured by them, if that's who indeed he is captured by, it looks like we may get a little push into that direction, which I'm perfectly fine with. But I do want to know about Caduceus and stuff too. Because after he said that, I was like, there's more than one of these for us. I need that too.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of. Is there anything else anybody wanted to kind of hit on? I think.
No.
Chat, was there anything else you guys wanted before we go? Chat's usually good at calling us out. I am really interested. So, did we get the determination that they just assumed they were going to Gordranus because Gordranus is the main
that's
sort of city?
Yeah, that's what the Wild Mother had whispered was Gordranus.
That's right. The Wild Mother said it was Gordranus, so we do know that's
yeah. So I think that
Yez's
that makes...
destination.
Yes.
That was the question. What is Yez's destination? It was Gordranus.
Yes.
But what if like that's where
and
Yeza wants to go and not where Yez is being taken? I'm kidding. That's nothing.
Well, I don't
I
think
mean-
the Wild Mother would lie.
Well, she's not lying.
Yeah, I
Because, like,
think
if you
they-
ask,
I
like,
think
what is
they're
this
pretty-
person's
Yeah.
destination? Like, where do they want to go? Like, maybe they want to go to
it's-
Gordranus because they have this note, like, about Gordranus and he's an alchemist, but, like, he's being taken somewhere else.
Who wouldn't want to go to Gordranus? Apparently, according to Yasha, there's full of bull warriors, bugbears, goblinoids, wild, angry, hungry
Sign-
things. Sounds
sign me
great. Sounds like a great place. And, you know, the fact that her and her very scary clan avoided it, that doesn't mean it's a terrifying
let's not
place at
forget
all.
that for
Nah.
hundreds of thousands of years, it was also like the center of the Deceiver gods before the Calamity, where they
Mhm,
plotted the destruction of the gods and all living life on.
Old news. New people have moved in. Such a bright, shiny
Or
day.
do the old stains of evil permeate the
I
ground?
don't know. I'm gonna be excited. I feel like they're gonna start going in the Underdark and then be like, "Hey, we're not prepared for this. Let's leave." And then they're gonna go back up top for a little bit.
I thought that when they became pirates and they succeeded at being pirates, so I feel like they can do this. I feel like they'll make it.
Succeeded.
I feel like
Underground
they'll
pirates.
they'll make it work. They did all that crazy
called
shit on the fly.
spelunkers?
They did a whole bunch of stuff where they had to stay underwater for extended periods of time. That sounds like high level monster
right.
shit. Like that sounds like crazy ass stuff. So I think they can handle a little like underground hike.
Yeah, and
They're
they
fine.
They
They're
can make
good.
shelter and food. So yeah, they're fine. Oh,
They're great. They're good.
Yeah, I guess they don't really need to worry about like supplies and stuff because they're gonna have crappy cleric food, and they can get that from both the clerics. Well, it's really the dynamic of a game changes when you have clerics, and it doesn't it?
mhm. Oh boy.
Yeah, I think that's
think that's
that's a lot of it. I think that's the major big things we wanted to hit on. Like, holy crap, backstory. Holy crap, Jorhas. Holy crap.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening and hanging out with us on this night.
Thanks so much.
Um,
Thanks. Don't forget to
yeah,
like
follow us
subscribe.
on Twitter at Critical Reroll.
Gesundheit,
So then,
Jess.
Like if we,
Give us 5-star ratings on all the
Yeah.
things.
Yes, please rate podcasts. Those that does
It
help.
actually has very few, so you know we'd love it if you
rate
do
us
that.
and tweet at us that you rated us, then we'll maybe read it on the next episode. Yeah.
Well, thank you genuinely from the bottom of our little
We will
podcast
definitely
hearts.
thank you. I'll tweet a dance to you if you no.
That's a big commitment. Anyways, I'm Jess at go_JG on Twitter, and I was formerly a
I'm
fawn.
Sarsaparilla Clementine. You can find me at Matt_Abernathy on Twitter.
And I'm Zachariah Graff, X-Dwarf. You can find me at GeoNerd.
All right, everybody say bye.
What about the chair? Shit.
Is there such thing as like a cold close?